If there was ever a time for a remake to a classic 80s film to be good, now would be the time. Robocop. So Robocop is a remake of the classic 80s film Robocop. This one is a different take on it. Now, it does have some of the same elements from the old movie, but in a PG-13 kind of way. Now, for the record, I'm not one of those guys that penalizes a remake or sequel for changing the rating from its original. I'm not one of those guys that are like, a PG-13 Robocop movie? Pfft, come on now, it has to be rated R. No, I'm not one of those guys. But I'm gonna be completely honest, up until 2 weeks ago, I haven't seen any of the Robocop movies, but hey, I've seen them now, and here's a quick rundown. The first movie, awesome. The second movie's, not so good. But in this remake, it pretty much retells the story of Murphy. He's a good guy, he's a good cop, but then he gets wasted, and then Michael Keaton's in the movie. He owns his company, he has robots in the Middle East, running the streets and keeping the peace, but then the American people, they don't want robots running their streets, and so Michael Keaton finds out about Murphy, and he's like, I'm gonna turn him into a cyborg. That'll get the American people to shut up. And now, Murphy's Robocop. Now, I actually enjoyed this movie, but I do have some flaws with the movie, and I don't mean to compare it to the original, but I do have flaws in comparison to the original. Now, let me be clear, I'm not one of those stuck in the 80s type guys that don't like their favorite 80s movies remade or rebooted, all because they don't like change and not willing to give a movie a chance or judge a movie before they even see it. No, I'm not one of those guys, but they did make some changes to this movie that I want to talk about. Now, first of all, I didn't really have a problem with Robocop himself, he still does that walk that Peter Weller did in the original that he had to go to robot school for, when he does that. His suit, I know some people complained about the suit being black. Now, don't get it twisted, I like the silver on black on the original suit, but personally, I like the all black because to me it looks more menacing. I'm not saying the silver on black was menacing at all, it was menacing, but I'm just saying, personally, I like dominant colors, and black is a dominant color to me. But even in the movie, the all black, it was still menacing. And on the helmet, they had that little red visor on his helmet though, so that helped a lot. The action, I know it's not R-rated action where it has all the blood squibs and all the over-the-top violence, but even still, even though it's PG-13, it's still pretty violent and dark though. Apparently Robocop's partner Lewis is not a girl, he's a guy, and he's played by Omar from The Wire. I honestly know the guy's name, but I forget it from time to time, and I just know him as Omar from The Wire. Nonetheless, he still did a good job in the movie though. One of the things I wasn't really feeling in this movie is how they killed Murphy in the beginning. In the original, he gets wasted by these thugs and they just start blowing his arms and limbs off. It was humbling and disturbing and it made you feel for him. It was humbling and disturbing to see those thugs waste the hell out of Murphy, and by the end, when he drops to the ground, he's like, dude, Murphy's dead, yo. Shit, they really killed him. It felt a lot more personal for him for when he got wasted by those thugs, as opposed to in this movie, he just gets killed by a car bomb. And it's a lot less personal, especially when you've seen it a couple of times in the trailer, so when it comes on in the movie, you're just like, yep, there's this part where he's about to die in 3, 2, 1, boom, he's dead. In the older movie, his memory gets scrubbed completely, and so he doesn't remember who he is, and so the movie's about him regaining his humanity. In this movie, when he wakes up, he remembers who he is, and so he's like, what the hell did you do to me? And so the first half of the movie is just all about him training. And that kind of slowed the movie down for me a little bit. But then in the second half of the movie, it was pretty much everything I wanted the sequels to the original movie to be. Later on in the movie, they scrub his memory completely, and so he doesn't remember who he is, so now he's just this emotionless cyborg. And then the rest of the movie was just about him regaining his humanity. In the original, he does gain his humanity, but they don't really explore the family side of him, so I like the fact that they actually did that in this movie. One of the things I like about Robocop as a character is he's kind of like Captain Spock from Star Trek. You know how Spock is half human, half Vulcan, and they clash from time to time? But with Robocop, he has programming in his head, but then his brain still has a human side of him and tells him he has free will. So they conflict. I just like the way they illustrated that in this movie. In the end, I enjoy Robocop. I do feel it's imperfect, but it's still a fun movie to watch, and that's all anyone could ever really ask for in terms of a reboot or remake of a classic 80s movie. So I will give Robocop a B average, for I will buy it on DVD or Blu-ray. Also, good job to Samuel Jackson for playing that Novak Element newscaster guy. He was cool as well. In fact, if he was a news anchor in real life, I'd probably watch the news more. And just pray to God he doesn't mistake him for Lawrence Fishburne. But that's it for the day. You like what you see, you want to see more, subscribe to this channel, subscribe to my other channel. The links are in the description below. And be sure to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Tumblr, and be sure to check out my website. Peace.